Bro, how are you?
I'm good, bro. What can I tell you? We want to thank the Giants. We want to thank Brian Dable. We want to thank Graham Gano. We want to thank Tiki because Tiki's now 2-0, sitting in the booth doing Jet games. And I spoke to Catalan earlier, and I'm seeing if maybe Buck and Aikman will step away Monday night and let Catalan and Tiki do the game. You know what I mean? When we play the Chargers.
Oh, that's going to be an interesting one, but by the way, because all the injuries that you guys have right now.
Yeah, they're banged up. The offensive line, Al Woods is out for the year. Have we heard anything about McGovern? Does anybody know anything?
Last I heard, it just wasn't good. I think it was a dislocated kneecap.
That's not good.
But, technically it's not horrible. But it's not necessarily he's going to play in a week, so we'll see.
Hopefully Tippmann is back so he can play center. You know what? Let me give this kid Newman. I thought he did a terrific job. I got to tell you, Teak, I know the kid never played center in his life, came out of nowhere. Who knows? I don't think anybody knew who he was, even on a team. Yeah, that fumbled snap early on. But I thought he did, considering everything, did a terrific job. And how about the fact that he was able to get in position on that last snap, so Zach could, do the spike and Zuerlein could get the kickoff.
So two things. Let's go to that play because I'm sitting at home.
Right.
And after that completion of Lazard, I turned to my dad who came over to watch the game with me, and I said, we're screwed. There's no way he's spiking the ball in time. You're in the building. Did you think there was any shot they were going to spike that ball in time?
Well, let me tell you what happened. It was very interesting. So after the Thibodeau sack, on fourth down, we're out. We're gone, okay? So we leave the building now. Yeah, listen. Yeah, we were disgusted. Like, me, Kenny, and Osman, we were so disgusted after this game, right? How are we going to lose to the crummy Giants, the veto, and all this? So we leave, right?
Yeah.
So now we're walking down the escalator, and now we get outside the building, and all we hear is Gano missed a field goal. So we're like, what are you talking about? So now we run back. They won't let us in. Can't go back in. So they got the big screens all over the place in the parking lot, right? So we are watching the end of the game on the big screens in the parking lot. Okay?
That explains why it was so easy to get out of there.
Teak. So really,
I'm serious. When I had to leave, because obviously we stayed to the end.
Right.
And then ultimately we got to do a hit for, I think it's CBS Sports Network or whatever. One of the hits we got to do. And then we leave like 20 minutes, 30 minutes after the game's over.
Right. So we watched, we actually watched the end of the game and then the overtime outside on the big screen. Wow. And it was a party. And I want to tell you right now, it was a party with the Jet fans. We were doing a dance when Zuerlein made the game-winning field goal. And let me tell you, we thought it was no good.
Me too.
Oh, my God. Teak, he barely gets it inside the left upright.
Yeah, it's funny because I couldn't see the angle that I'm at. You can't see it, right? Because we're on the side angle. So I'm looking at the monitor, and I can't tell. I'm waiting for Andrew to call it.
Yeah, me too.
Because I can't hear it.
I'm looking at the – dude, watching on TV at home, I could have sworn Zuerlein missed that off the foot.
Right. It's funny. I told you I spoke to Catalan today, and he said he actually hesitated. And I didn't. I'm there. I didn't see the call.
Right.
But he actually hesitated with the call because he didn't know either at that point.
Yeah, it looked off the foot. I thought he was going to miss it. So was it packed out there with Jet fans who had given up after the Thibodeau sack?
It was kind of crazy with Jet fans, and we're all high fiving. Oh my God! I mean, it was nuts in the parking lot there. It was crazy, man. And I felt compelled in honor of Victor Cruz. All right. Thank you. I still got a hemorrhoid from that game in 2011, and I felt compelled in honor of him and the fact that, the Giants were nice enough to say, here, take this game. I felt compelled to, do a little salsa, bro.
I saw that there were Giant fans congregating around you, not necessarily coming towards you, but they were just walking around.
Yeah.
What was the interaction with the Giant fan?
Well, I don't
like?
really,
Because you know what, Joe, you remember this. We'd ask you on Friday. It used to be like hate. I mean, there was a fight between the Giants. I didn't feel like that was the case in the stands yesterday.
No. You know what? The Giants. Look, I don't say anything. All I'm doing is dancing, and all I said was, "This is in honor of Victor Cruz." I'm not getting in any Giant fans' faces. Let's put it this way: the Giant fans don't hold a candle to the Eagle fans. Okay, the Eagle fans after the Eagle win. They will. You couldn't be bigger asses than they were. The Giant fans were not that. I'll say that. I think they were too stunned. They couldn't believe that. Blew the game.
Definitely.
Everything about that game, Joe, was so stunning. From Tommy DeVito coming in to them being afraid to let him do anything. I mean, it was just hand the ball off to Saquon the entire second half. Because look, when Thibodeau gets that sack, we all think the game's over. Like,
well, of course.
I mean, I didn't shut the TV off, but I'm tweeting out angrily about the head coach and how pathetic this loss is, and everything from the Gano miss to the offsides called on Kayvon to even getting the spike down after the Lazard catch. Like, everything about that sequence was like, is this real? Like, how the hell did any of this happen?
Well, let me say this, though. Here's something that gets me. Okay, so, and I'm really down on the play calling. Okay, I'm down on Hackett. I mean, I thought the play calling yesterday was brutal. And I know Zach stunk, okay? But how come all of a sudden now, with the game on the line, Zach starts zipping passes? He hits one to Garrett Wilson for 30. He hits one for 30 to Lazard. He makes that play to Wilson in the overtime on third down, and even the pass to Taylor with the pass interference. He got it down the field. Why isn't this happening during the game?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Right, Tiki?
Yeah,
I mean,
so
what's going on with that?
Honestly, I feel like it's a lack of trust in Zach. So the Giants played a lot of man coverage, and anytime it was man and Garrett was by himself on Tay Banks, he was looking that way. So like he's one-sided. So he's playing most of the game one-sided. And if the throw's not there, then he's got to hold it. And he's like, oh, crap, I can't go to Garrett. Where am I going next? And by then, there's pressure, right? Dexter Lawrence had either 13 or 14 pressures in this game. Think about that.
That's
crazy, it's just astronomically high. Obviously, Kayvon had 3 sacks, and he was just disruptive all over the place. So there really was no time. I think he was getting baited into looking at Garrett Wilson. He hit a couple of them because I think Garrett had 100 yards.
He did.
And so he hit some of them, including the 30-yarder at the end. But for a lot of the game, it was like, all right, I'm going to Garrett. I can't go there. Now where? Sack. And so he was just out of his unit. But the difference in overtime, he just kind of, I don't know, there's something about him. He stood there and made the throw, even though he knew there was pressure, and then he scrambled and made the throw, which was, you got to give him credit for the ones that he did make, as opposed to the ones that he was unable to earlier on.
Well, I've been yelling about this for a long time. First of all, there should be designed runs for this kid. I've said this over and over, but even more than aggravating, let him throw the ball down the field. I mean, we never see a long pass down the field. First down, nobody ever is, no defense is playing against this because they never do it.
Nope.
How about a play fake and throwing the ball like 60 yards down the field on a post pattern? Why not? They never do it.
Yeah, they don't.
They never do it.
It's funny. One of the criticisms I had about Hackett, because I agree with you about the play calling, was almost the opposite. They had a 3rd and 1 in the second half of this game.
You want to run the ball.
They want to run the ball, and they had an empty backfield.
Yeah,
so they're not even threatening a run. That one drove me nuts, too.
Was that the one? Was that the one to Brees?
Where it hit him in the feet?
Yeah.
No, I think it was.
There were 2 of them.
Yeah, there was one to Tyler Conklin, I think, is the one I'm thinking about.
One was to Conklin, but the one to Brees, it was the right play.
Yeah, and Zach bounced it. Correct.
Bounced the ball.
And he's looking at his hand.
He would have had the first down and a lot more.
Yeah, he had already out leveraged Micah McFadden, and so he's turning the corner, and that's a 20 or 30-yard play. So I get it. Like, he's trying to. And by the way, the run game had gone nowhere.
Right.
Brees had, 11 carries for 12 yards?
12 for 17.
12 for 17 or something like that.
I want to say this, Teak. Okay, here's the thing, too. Brees has got to get the ball more. I understand yesterday was a little different situation. Saquon got 36 carries. Who the hell's getting 36 carries anymore?
Yeah, not anybody.
Nobody. But I got to see, can I see Brees get 20, 22 carries in a game? Because even when you're shutting him down, which the Giants did yesterday, he's always, one play away from breaking it.
Like, even on the dump-off, it's one play.
We made that point. When he's like, Doug, what's the game plan here? Get the ball to Brees, whether it's handing off or just throw a check down. Because that's what it was. He just checked the ball down. He made a guy miss, and next thing you know, he's in the end zone. But, yeah, they need to find more creative ways to use Brees Hall if they're not going to trust Zach to throw the ball outside the numbers. None of his throws are outside the numbers. Think about this.
Never.
I mean, every now and then he'll throw a go route, but most of his throws are inside the numbers because they're easier. right? You're not worried about throwing it across the field or worried about a corner or safety or whoever, a linebacker, undercutting that outside throw. All of his throws are inside. So that's partly a limitation. I think the other thing, and I know this because I talked to Hack, is that with the offensive line shifting as much as it did, it's just really hard to call plays because these guys have never heard it in these positions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, hell, the guy who ended up playing center, he was there for a week.
Yeah. No, I know. He was with the Titans, right?
Yes.
Well, I think he was with Tennessee.
Yes.
Yeah. I give him credit. I thought he did a terrific job.
No, he really did.
And here's the other thing, too. Let's be honest. I mean, look, the defense is terrific, and the reason they didn't force a turnover is because they didn't throw the ball.
I know.
I mean, it's pretty difficult to get turnovers if they're just going to hand the ball off every time.
And to Saquon's credit, up until last week, he's only had 2 fumbles in his entire NFL career.
Right.
So you're right about that. The thing that drove me nuts, and this was going to be the takeaway, if the Giants didn't give this game away, to me, this was going to be the thing, that this is an undisciplined mess.
Yes.
That those 3 penalties, the Quincy Williams personal foul would have gone from a 3rd down to an automatic 1st down on the touchdown drive, the Jermaine Johnson personal foul, which was brutal.
By the way, let me just say this on that play. Okay, the other ones, and obviously Michael Clemens.
Oh, the Clemens one was the worst one, bro.
Was unbelievable. At that point, I figured that's the game.
Yes.
He just blew it completely.
Yep.
But the play with Johnson, okay? All right, he hit him a little late. DeVito is still running. Tommy DeVito is playing his first game ever as an NFL quarterback, gets this call. Zach Wilson never gets this call.
Yeah.
He's been there 3 years. It's a joke. That's what got me ticked off on the Johnson.
Well, the only reason they called it because it was high.
You think that's the reason why?
That's the reason. I mean, it was late because forward momentum had been stopped.
No.
Progress had been stopped. But I think the reason he called it, Joe, is because he was high.
I understand. I think it was the right call, but here's what pisses me off, and Joe's right. It's just annoying that Tommy DeVito, who's attempted 7 passes in his career.
I hear what you're saying.
And Zach hasn't gotten a call in 2 years.
3.
True.
This is 3
3
now.
years, yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Oh, yeah, the last one was Van Ginkel.
And
2021.
And that Michael Clemens neutral zone infraction.
You just can't do that.
It killed dumb. 5 minutes off the clock. They were lucky to even get the ball back. The field position game was completely different. Doesn't this come down to the head coach?
Here's what I say about the head coach, okay? Here's what I say. The bottom line on the head coach, and I think this is the biggest takeaway you have with this guy, they play their ass off for this guy.
They do. I give you that.
I mean, and to me, and I know I got some kind of relationship, whatever you want to call it. But the bottom line is they play hard for this guy, right down to the nub.
Yeah.
And to me, that's the most important thing. It really is. And I understand they're undisciplined. I get it. This is the way this defense is. I get it. Look, we could go back 100 years to the old Raiders, man, who won all the time, and they always led the NFL in penalties, penalty yardage. But that's got to be cleaned up. But the one thing about the coach, man, they bust their rear end for this coach.
They play very hard. No question about that. It's just that it's going to kill him eventually.
It's going to kill him eventually.
Well,
stop.
The problem, and we talked about this at the beginning, Joe, regardless of how this game, because it was ugly as hell, no matter how it played out, the Jets came away with a win. And so the Giants lose. They're 2-6.
Right.
They're basically selling everything off. There's really nothing to look forward to. And I think at this point we're going to start saying, all right, who's worth keeping? Seriously, it's Dexter Lawrence. It's Kayvon Thibodeau. Who else is worth?
And by the way, I don't know if you heard it yet, Joe. Leonard Williams traded away to Seattle.
Yep.
They've already begun the selling, and they got back. I was stunned by this return. They got a 2nd-round pick back for Leonard Williams.
A 2nd and a 5th, but they ate the money.
They traded Leonard Williams to Seattle.
But they ate the money.
I did not hear that.
They ate the money, Joe. And then he Cohen'd it. Ate the money.
He Cohen'd it.
I like that.
He ate the money, got a 2nd and a 5th round pick. But so for the Giants, it's like, all right, let's just try to salvage, get some of these young players some go. But for the Jets, you're in a position
to make the playoffs.
Well, to not only make the playoffs, but you go into this Chargers Monday night game, and it's going to be daunting, obviously, because the Chargers are pretty good, even though they choke all the time.
All the time. I think Herbert is overrated.
Yeah, I agree, but they're pretty good, but it's strength against strength. And even if you lose, like it's your halfway point, theoretically, through 8 games, you're 4-4. Yeah. Right? So, like, the Jets are in a position to control whatever they want going forwards, whereas the Giants are cooked. That was the difference at the win and loss of this game.
I want to say this, too, about Dable. I thought he should have went for the 4th and 1, to be honest with you. I mean, you look back on it, give the ball to Barkley. He was running the ball great in the second half. Gano had missed a field goal already. But here's the other thing. Other mistake I thought he made, Teague. I don't know how you feel about this.
Go ahead.
They should have deferred to the Jets in overtime.
100%.
Why would you put the offense
100%.
that's doing nothing? You're not going to let this quarterback do a thing.
Yeah.
Why would you put them up on the field against the strength of the team?
Joe, so when this happened, Matt and I are in the booth calling it with Andrew, and we said this clearly benefits the Jets.
Yes.
The Jets have the advantage right now because we know, I know, everybody knows, the Giants cannot move the ball. So unless they get this kickoff on the 35-yard line, which it wasn't ultimately, it was backed up and they didn't go anywhere.
Got a hold right off the top too on Bellinger.
So it's first and 20. So you have field position is automatically in the Jets' favor as soon as they accepted the kickoff in overtime. I would have, if I was Dable, I'd have said, "What's my strongest unit right now?"
Yeah, no doubt.
It's Wink. It's Dexter Lawrence. It's Kayvon Thibodeau. Go wreck having on Zach and play field position the other way. So, I mean, I think that was a horrible decision by Brian Dable. And I very rarely criticize him that heavily, but I thought it was terrible, especially knowing that they weren't going to throw the ball.
Yeah.
They were just going to run the ball.
And the passes he threw, he's like sideways passes.
They were throws to run. They were throws to run. They were trying to get Saquon outside the tackle box.
Did it go through your mind? Because it went through my mind. As soon as poor Tyrod Taylor goes down and Tommy DeVito comes in, I'm having the fears of this is going to be what a story we're going to have here. A freaking Jersey kid is just a third-string quarterback is going to stick it to the Jets. Every fear was going through my head about that.
Yeah, but you couldn't have thought that because
you were
in losing. But Joe, you were the Giants were in losing position at that point.
Doesn't matter.
They're down by Tommy DeVito's not going down and scoring a touchdown.
How do we know that?
I mean, ultimately he did, but you know what I mean?
Right. Well, they did courtesy of the Jet penalties.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, that set up the touchdown. I know Barkley had that 140-yard run, but that set up the touch. By the way, you got it. The defense is terrific, the Jets' defense. But how about the special? I mean, Thomas Morstead, this guy. I mean, how many punts did he put inside the 5-yard line in this game?
At least 4.
Right now, and it's so important with a team like this, they've got – I'd put my punter, place kicker combination up against anybody in the league with Greg Zuerlein and Thomas Morstead. And we wouldn't have said that 2 years ago with Braden Mann and Eddie Pinheiro or whatever.
Well, they were going through after Nick Folk. How many different kickers did they go through over the years?
150. It was crazy.
It was crazy.
But they need it so badly because this is going to be the formula.
This is how they got to win.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you right now, let's be honest with this, too. You go back to the coach here for a second, and I've told him this. If this team makes the playoffs with Zach Wilson as the quarterback, what kind of coaching job? I mean, he's the coach of the year.
Yeah.
Tiki, I mean, is that crazy to say?
Given what they lost and where the expectation was, and if they even get close to it,
right.
You have to consider it.
Where is – because I've been tough on Zach all year. I didn't have that much faith in him, even after the Kansas City game where he played reasonably well.
Well, how can you?
My last thought was the fumble. I actually feel better about him than I ever have because I think of the end. I think of the clutchness that he had down the stretch and the throws he needed to make. I actually feel better about Zach today than maybe at any time.
Well, I think there's something to look at least.
Yes.
It's like, all right, what was different about this last drive? These last two, the last two,
actually. How about
some
no-huddle, Teak, as well?
I agree. Make it hurried. So he's not. So he really isn't thinking. I know that the game plan is calling for him not to think a lot. You know, one-sided reads type of thing. He even told us this, as opposed to trying to go through the whole progression. But just play fast, and then he really can't think. And it also simplifies the defense for you. I think the biggest thing that Nate's going to have to navigate is how to get Zach to just let the ball go. Because there's sometimes when a guy is covered, when you just got to let it go and trust your guy to go make. Now, if you start throwing interceptions, don't stop, right?
But don't you think that's the reason that he doesn't? See, I think he's so scared to throw a pick, T.
Yes.
And that's why he's holding on to even on that fourth down play. You got to just throw the ball up for grabs.
No, you're right. You're 100% right. Now, everybody was covered. But you still
got to just chuck it up there.
Even if not, chuck it down. I mean, Breece Hall is right in front of you.
Right.
He probably is going to get contacted 3 yards short. But guess what? I'm going to trust Breece Hall to maybe break that tackle. Right. In man coverage. So there's some work that still needs to be done with Zach. But the bottom line is, going into Monday Night Football, the Jets still have a chance. Now, by the way, with the Coach of the Year, it's probably going to be Doug Peterson because the Jacksonville Jaguars are ridiculous. They just win. They had that
was a hell of a win in Pittsburgh yesterday.
Unbelievable win. Every week they do it. They find a way to win every week. But that notwithstanding, notwithstanding, I said this last week, and I'm saying it again. This Jets team, especially defensively, so that's Ulbrich and Saleh on the defensive side of the ball. They're as well coached as any in football right now.
Yeah. No, hey, look, the defense is, I can't say enough. I mean, Jermaine Johnson, I know he made the penalty, but Jermaine Johnson, Bryce Huff. Right now, the best linebacker tandem in the game is Williams and Mosley. I mean, I don't think there's anybody for just two guys as linebackers. Is anybody better, T?
No, they play well together. We mentioned this once as well. They play so well, complementary. So there was a play where Saquon was trying to get to the edge, and he knew he couldn't get there, and so he was waiting for the block to get made, and he was going to cut back underneath C.J. Mosley. But C.J. just held him up long enough for Quincy to come flying out of nowhere and stuff it for a 1-yard loss or whatever it was. I mean, their tandem is unbelievable. It's one of the best combinations in football as well.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about it. But look, this was I'll say this, and Evan knows this as well as anybody because he's like me, forever Jet fan. These are games the Jets never win.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're winning games that they never win, and you feel. I will say this, and who knows? I mean, who knows how it's going to play out. There is a feeling of the karma, I'm big on karma, changing with the franchise. I really think that. I really do.
I just wish they could go through a win and not lose key guys to injuries. It seems like every win is attached to some kind of significant injury.
It's everybody. Kirk Cousins is gone for the year.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at these. I mean, Waller got hurt yesterday. Taylor goes down. I mean, the injuries are everywhere.
Do you look at – so they got the Chargers on Monday night. They got the Vegas Raiders on Sunday night before the Buffalo and Miami, back-to-back divisional opponents.
Right.
They have to win these next two games. You kind of look at it as they got to get their 6-3.
I think you got to be no worse than 5-4 going into those games. You got to be over 5. You got to win at least. Look, they should win both. I really do. I don't think I think the Chargers are a little bit of a fraud. Okay, but they got to win one of these two, at least one of the two. Get me to 5-4 going to Buffalo.
The reason I kind of lean towards they got to win both is because you look at the landscape of the AFC now with the way things are developing, with Cincinnati figuring it out.
Cincinnati stabilizes.
Yeah. Even like you look at Pittsburgh's schedule. Pittsburgh's schedule is just atrocious. They play nobody.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah. So
well, don't they play division games? Don't they got to play the Bengals again?
They do, but they also play
Cleveland again yet. Right?
But they also play Green Bay, and they also play New England, and they also play Arizona, and they also play Indianapolis. Like it's. I don't know, man. I almost think 10 is going to be the number to make the postseason.
Well, look,
really?
10. They got 10 games left. They go 6-4. They make it. I mean, which is not crazy.
No,
and I don't rule the division out either, Ev.
Not yet.
I
agree.
They're even in the loss column with Buffalo. They're only one behind Miami in the loss column.
You know what? The best thing
I don't rule it out.
And this is your logic. I don't always follow this, but in this case, I agree. The best thing that happened besides the Jets winning yesterday was Kansas City losing to Denver because now they play the Dolphins in Germany.
Yeah.
And I think we get an angry Chief team, and that's loss number 3 for the Dolphins if KC can get it done.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. I love Denver yesterday, by the way. And you know what? That Denver win looks a lot better. I mean, Denver's starting to play a little bit now.
Yeah.
I mean, Russell had 3 touchdown passes yesterday. Their defense, really got after Mahomes in the game yesterday. I know he wasn't 100%. He wasn't feeling good. But is Taylor Swift going to Germany? Do we know that?
Well, all I know is Travis Kelce's numbers without Taylor Swift are terrible. Apparently, when she doesn't show up, he puts up very mediocre numbers. So who knows?
Generally, the only person that can cover him is her. I mean, I watch the Chiefs, and he's roaming around by himself out there, and he's like the best tight end. He's the first ballot Hall of Famer.
No question. No question.
Ridiculous.
All right, Joe. Great victory. Great salsa dancing.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you, man.
See you, Joe.
Talk to you next week, guys.
The great Joe Benigno. We get an extra day before the Jets play on Monday night against the Chargers, which means Joe will join us on Tuesday of next week. Tuesday at 4 o'clock to recap what happens there. But I don't know. I guess it's offensive to say it's a great victory. It's not a great. It's
a victory.
It's a victory, and it was very much needed.
It's a take it because you got it type of thing. Seriously.
It was a sigh of relief victory. It was like I had to go to the bathroom, and I finally got it out kind of victory. Like it was something.
I guess. Can we
agree on one thing, please?
Yes, sure. Sean, what's up, buddy?
We could all take our lumps here as Giant fans. Can we not have Joe say the words, the Chargers are a bit of a fraud team, bro, and not all agree? I mean, again, you needed a miracle to be Tommy DeVito, and we're calling other teams frauds right now.
The LA Chargers are frauds. No. Hold on a second. the L.A. Chargers,
It's
since
hard
the
not to
days
say
of
that,
San
by the way.
Diego,
It's
are
hard
complete,
not to say that.
utter frauds. And I'm curious, because now you're going to start with me.
And nobody cares.
What makes the Jets frauds? You mean the team that beat the Eagles frauds? The team that beat the Bills frauds?
How about the team that lost to the Patriots and literally needed the biggest NFL miracle to beat a team that had -9 yards passing and didn't attempt to throw?
No. I think we have different interpretations of frauds.